few people are entering into the Zoom meeting. We are live on Facebook, I think. Hello, Mark Zuckerberg. Hello again, Chinese and Russian governments. How you doing? They always spying on us somehow. Okay, I think we have the participants in. Anyone else on the waiting room, Mary? No? We free to go? Yeah. Hello, welcome to the fifth virtual tasting and masterclass of the Perbacco Wine Club, of this beautiful series of masterclasses that we launched in the winter 2020. This is going to be the last event of this season, and I'm planning to organize more and more events in spring 2021. We have beautiful ideas, we're discussing ideas, and I'll keep you posted because this has been a beautiful success, and I'm very happy that we had such a big response with this series of masterclasses. I'm, as usual, I'm overwhelmed by all the love that we received, and this gives us the motivation to keep going and to do something else, something different perhaps in the future. I truly hope that you had a good Christmas, that you're having good holidays. It's been a different Christmas for sure, definitely, to say the least. I don't know if you had a big lunch with your family via Zoom or if you were physically sitting on the table with them, but I hope you had a good time. And I hope that, you know, this message finds you well in this particular crazy time that we live in. And I really hope my best wishes for a good 2021. Hopefully that will get better than this shit show called 2020. Okay, so I think we can get started. I will have a few words now, a little bit of an introduction. First of all, my name is Francesco Maramai from the Perbacco Wine Club and Osteria del Borgo from Montepulciano, where I'm located right now. I'm the head of the head sommelier of the Perbacco Wine Club, together with my brother Giacomo, and I'll be doing the introduction and the wine tasting. So I will be doing an introduction with a PowerPoint presentation, which is going to last about 25, 30 minutes, where I will introduce the history and characteristics of these two amazing wines that we'll be tasting today. Today, we'll be tasting Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Chianti Classico. So after the presentation, I will introduce my special guest, which is Irene Lesti from Montemercurio, one of the top wineries here in Montepulciano. Irene, she's a really good friend. She's the sales manager of the winery Montemercurio. She's a really close friend, and she's a very knowledgeable sommelier that will give her impression about Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico, obviously. After, we'll have the conversation with Irene. I'll start tasting the wines. Of course, we'll start with the first wine will be Irene's wine, Damo from Montemercurio 2011. After I'll be finishing the tasting of Damo, Montemercurio. You can ask your questions to Irene and to me. So take advantage if you have any questions, any doubts about Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Chianti Classico, just feel free to ask. The people online on Zoom, on the Zoom conversation, can just interact with me and chat, and also activate your video once Irene and I will tell you so. Okay, after we'll be tasting the other 5 wines, and you can ask questions anytime. At the end, we can do the greetings, and you can ask other questions when I'll be done tasting the 6 wines that we have tonight. So I'll try to make a quick presentation because Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile, there's so many things to say about these incredible wines. 2 hours are not enough, but I will try to concentrate everything within this couple of hours. So we are talking about 2 wines that have obviously a special place in my heart, since I was raised with Vino Nobile. Since I was a kid, you can see the results. When you feed wine to a kid, you can see the results. My family was lucky enough that I became a sommelier. Okay, whether you become a sommelier or an alcoholic, there's a subtle line, as I said in one of the previous meetings. So I grew up with Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico as well. 2 wines that I love. 2 wines that are a beautiful representation of what Sangiovese, which is the most important grape that we have in Tuscany, and the most planted grape that we have in Italy. Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile represent what Sangiovese can achieve, because a lot of people talk about Brunello di Montalcino nowadays. It is an amazing wine, obviously. Nothing to say against Brunello di Montalcino. I obviously love Brunello di Montalcino, but I think that Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Chianti Classico, they don't get enough credit compared to Brunello di Montalcino. And with the 6 wines, amazing wines that we'll be tasting today, I'm pretty sure that if you didn't like Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile yesterday, today you will change your mind. I guarantee you that. Okay, so I think we can start the presentation. I'm gonna share the screen now. So you will see just the presentation and not my ugly face. The computer is pretty slow today. Probably has had a lot of food and wine as well for Christmas, like this guy. Okay, there we are. Vino Nobile Montepulciano of all wines is the king, which is a quote by one of the most important doctors of the Renaissance, Francesco Redi. Francesco Redi was also a poet, and he wrote this poem about the wines from Tuscany, and he quoted Montepulciano as king of all wines, because there's a very, very rich history in terms of winemaking in Montepulciano. Okay. As I said, a glorious history since the Etruscans until today. With the beautiful landscape, you see, this is the view that you have from the tower of the town hall, which is located right next to where I am now. I am here. If you see what I'm pointing at now, this is my restaurant, and this is the terrace of my restaurant. So this is located this is the view from the northern side of Montepulciano. On the right, to the right, you can see the Val di Chiana, and to the left, you can see the Val d'Orcia. So Montepulciano is right in between these 2 beautiful valleys. So more than 2,000 years of glory. So there are many proof that wine has always been a fundamental part of the economy of Montepulciano since the Etruscans. There were the people living here in the area, in Tuscany and close to Rome, in the 5th century before Christ, before pretty much the Romans came and killed everyone. That's pretty much what happened. So many historians and poets within the centuries have praised the qualities of this wine, whose name, Vino Nobile, recalls its aristocratic origin and character. So, speaking about the Etruscans, they did a very important job even for us nowadays, and we're still using the buildings that they built in the year, so 25 centuries ago, since they excavated many tunnels underground. There were actually graves and tombs, and then converted them. They were converted in the Middle Age by the noble families into wine cellars. And actually, nowadays you can still visit those beautiful underground cellars. And I think that Montepulciano is obviously beautiful on the overground, on the outside. It's got beautiful views, beautiful buildings, but also the underground cellars of Montepulciano are not spoken enough, in my opinion, because they're just mind-blowing and something very characteristic of the town. So the underground cellars are the beating heart of Montepulciano. The most distinctive aspects of the history and glory of the Vino Nobile are witnessed by historic cellars in Montepulciano, located underneath Tuscan Renaissance buildings. These breathtaking graves were excavated, as I said before, by the Etruscans over 25 centuries ago, and then converted into wine cellars in the late Middle Age by the noble families of the town. And actually, I didn't write this because I didn't have enough space. Even during the Second World War and the invasion of the German army, people of Montepulciano were hiding important things such as wine, food, cheese, money, and other important belongings underground. So the German army couldn't find these cellars, and they were hiding the important stuff underground. So you see, the Etruscans 25 centuries ago provided something that we still use nowadays, and still nowadays it is possible to visit these underground cellars and to experience the glorious history of Vino Nobile and to see how they're used after thousands years. Because still nowadays, the one on the background, this is Caderici, which is located right next to the restaurant where I am now, Osteria del Borgo. Still nowadays, to fill these barrels, they bring a truck full of wine that they vinified at the cellar where the vineyards are. They bring a truck, and then by gravity they put a pipe onto the truck, and by gravity the wine goes down filling these barrels. I mean, still nowadays it's a pretty tough job to do it. Can you imagine how hard it was 100 years ago? So these are the underground cellars. I just took the pictures of two of them, but there are 6 or 7 beautiful cellars in Montepulciano. And I think if you take a shovel in Montepulciano and you dig a hole, you'll find an Etruscan tomb, I think. So the one on the top is Caderici, beautiful. They call it the wine cathedral. Look at this beautiful building. This is all underground, excavated in tufa. Tufa is the stone that we have here in Montepulciano. On the bottom, you have Cantine Talosa. Beautiful, these beautiful big barrels, typical from Tuscany. See how amazing this is. Okay, we do a little bit of history now with the beautiful background of the view that you have from Square San Francesco. Actually, my restaurant has a terrace with the same view. A lot of you guys might recognize this view over the church of San Biagio and over the valley. You can see Pienza from here. It's pretty beautiful. So with this beautiful background, we do a little bit of history. So the journey of Vino Nobile di Montepulciano has been a long roller coaster ride, one of spectacular highs and stagnant lows. So the name Vino Nobile was given by Mr. Adamo Fanetti, which is still a winery that is still active nowadays, that named this wine as Vino Nobile because he was finding, it was in 1921, he was looking for a name that would just sum up the characteristics of this wine. This wine is gentle, this wine is noble, this wine is aristocratic. Not just the characteristics itself, but also the fact that the noble families were producing high quality wine in the area, because outside of the town of Montepulciano in the countryside, there were just farmers that were very poor, that were making wine, but wine was just meant for the table, just for as a part of the alimentation of the days, just to get some calories to work on the fields when it was getting pretty cold during the winter. So Adamo Fanetti changed the name of the wine and gave the name Vino Nobile. Before it was called Selected Wine of Montepulciano. Adamo Fanetti was a really good friend of Mr. Biondisanti, the creator of the Brunello di Montalcino, who saw the qualities of this wine from Montepulciano and gave a recommendation to Mr. Adamo Fanetti to change the name and give a name that was more significant of the quality of the wine. So the Vino Nobile wins prizes and awards all over Europe in the 30s and the 40s, I would say, as well. Then, obviously, Second World War and the economical depression, we saw this aspect is a common aspect of all wines and actually Italian culture. Second World War was devastating for the area. There were many fights, many battles, many wars here in the area. And then in 1943, the civil war as well in between Mussolini army and the partisans. So it was a mess, really. So after the Second World War, there was a huge economical depression that, of course, didn't favor high quality wines because there was no money actually at all in the whole country. Then in the 50s and the 60s, the Vino Nobile starts to gain popularity, but it gets knocked off his high throne by Chianti Classico in the 70s and by Brunello di Montalcino in the 80s. I would say that in the 50s, in the 60s, Vino Nobile was one of the top 3 wines of Italy, if not one of the most successful wines of Italy. Then in the 70s, the Chianti took off and the Brunello took off in the 80s and the 90s in particular. Also in the 90s, you have the rise of Super Tuscans, like we saw in the second masterclass of when we were talking about Super Tuscans, during which more producers were, I don't want to use this word during a pandemic, but they were contagious by the fever of the new school style. So, Super Tuscans means small barrels, international grapes. So the Vino Nobile started, and the Chianti Classico as well, and the Brunello in part. They lost some of the peculiar characteristics, this kind of rustic charm, and they lost their path just to follow the American market, probably because they saw the success of the super Tuscans in the 90s in the United States. So they just tried to follow their path, and they kind of lost the original characteristics of the Vino Nobile and the Chianti Classico. And then the last point is Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, a challenge for the brand. I will tell you later on about Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, which is a completely different wine than Vino Nobile. So Vino Nobile nowadays in the 21st century. So while Vino Nobile has yet to enjoy the same success of its famous neighbor, Brunello di Montalcino, the latest releases, the latest vintages demonstrate that Vino Nobile estates are at last finding their groove with terroir. With terroir-driven wines for a great value. I think the Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico nowadays represent an amazing value because still, I mean, Brunello di Montalcino, it's a good wine, but you have to spend $50 on a bottle at least. While Vino Nobile di Montepulciano and Chianti Classico for $25, you drink an amazing Sangiovese, terroir-driven, high-quality wine. So I think that, I think that Vino Nobile represents an amazing value. So many producers have cut back or abandoned Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Instead, they're returning to native varieties like Canaiolo, Colorino, and Mammolo to blend with the Sangiovese. Others use only Sangiovese, and there is a great attention to organic production in respect for the soil and the authenticity of the wine. I can guarantee that in the world, you don't find this many organic wineries like you find in Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico. There's a big attention for the terroir and for the soil. So nowadays, the success of the town of Montepulciano, whose beauty and numbers in terms of visitors are second to none, obviously, I play my part. Being born and raised in Montepulciano, of course, I support the town, and I think it's the most beautiful town of the world. But seeing these many people coming to Montepulciano, it's a good aspect also for the wine, because a lot of people come to Montepulciano for the architecture, for the landscape, and then they taste the Vino Nobile and they realize how amazing this wine is. So this success is contributing to the return of the king of all wines in the place where the Vino Nobile belongs, among the top appellation in Tuscany and Italy. There's a beautiful synergy, a beautiful link in between the beauty of the territory and the quality of the wine. So here are the technical characteristics of the Vino Nobile. Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, the aging is 24 months, of which 12 months at least in oak for the Vino Nobile, 36 months, of which 24 at least in oak for the Reserva. So the Vino Nobile is released from next year in January 2021, actually next week, we'll be releasing the vintage 2018 of the Vino Nobile and 2017 of the Reserva. Altitude, the wines have to be made in between 280 and 580 meters above sea level. And here, the blend of Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, the grapes allowed. So it has to be at least 70% of Sangiovese. Prugnolo Gentile is the name of the variety in Montepulciano of the Sangiovese. 30% can be made of other varieties. So Prugnolo Gentile is the Sangiovese varietal used in Montepulciano. It has the shape of a prune. So here the name Prugnolo means prune, and tends to be a bit more gentle and softer than Brunello and Chianti. Brunello is more intense and Chianti is a little bit more straightforward, more acidic, if I have to make a short comparison in between the three wines. So the Vino Nobile is a little bit more gentle, it's a little bit warmer in terms of alcohol, more generous in terms of alcohol as well. So it can be blended with both local grapes such as Canaiolo, Colorino, and Mammolo, which is the classic blend of the Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico, or international varietals such as Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. We're talking about a pretty limited surface because it's only the municipality of Montepulciano with 1,250 hectares, double it up in acres, 2,500, for 160 producers. A lot of producers for such a small area. Plus 90 bottlers, which are wineries that buy wine from other wineries and they just put, bottle the wine and label with their own label. The production is very limited, 6 million bottles made per year. for a turnout of 65 millions worth per year. Okay, I always have fun with this, explaining this, because I have a lot of, even Italians, not just foreigners that come to Montepulciano, a lot of Italians, they come to my restaurant in Montepulciano, they sit at the table, they look at the wine list and they say, okay, pick me a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. And I always get some parts of me die internally when this happens, because they're talking like of a completely different wine. It's like when you talk, just to sum it up, it's like when you are from United States and you come from Washington State, you tell someone that you are from Washington State here in Italy, and they will think that you live in Washington, DC. So, you know, it's just an homonymous, but it's a completely different wine. And we will analyze why. So Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, DOCG, the highest degree of the appellation, versus Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, DOC, the second tier's level of the appellation. The first one, the Vino Nobile, is made with mostly Sangiovese grape, while the other one with Montepulciano grape. So the name of the region where it's made is Abruzzo, and the name of the grape is Montepulciano. Why so? We don't know. Apparently, a guy whose name I don't remember, and I don't want to remember, one person tasted the wine in Abruzzo, and he said, this wine is good. It reminds me of the wine of Montepulciano. And this is it. This is why the wine has been called Montepulciano ever since, for some reason. And this makes a big confusion on the final consumer. It makes a big confusion because we'll see the Vino Nobile appellation is much smaller than the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo appellation. So the Vino Nobile is made in Montepulciano, while the other one is made in Abruzzo region. So we have a small town versus a whole region. So Vino Nobile therefore has a smaller production, while Montepulciano d'Abruzzo has a massive production, much bigger. The Vino Nobile is more complex, and the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is more, I would say, fruity, much more like an everyday wine. So the Vino Nobile has a higher average quality, and Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, in general, I don't want to be offensive to this wine, but a lower average quality. The average price range is higher in the Vino Nobile because it's a smaller production that is dedicated more to the quality rather than the quantity, while for the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the average price range is €6. The production, you see, it's a completely different story because 6 million bottles versus 106 million bottles. So to sum up, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, usually the average is pretty high, even that the cost is a little bit higher. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the one that you find at the supermarket, it is an amazing value for $7, $8 for what you pay for, obviously. Amazing value, but it doesn't have the complexity that the Vino Nobile has. But Montepulciano d'Abruzzo has some amazing wineries that make wine. Some of the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo are just amazing. I think about Valentini, one of the best wineries in Italy. Emilio Pepe, the pioneer of natural wines in Italy and in Europe. Masciarelli, Marina Cvetic, many producers that make amazing wines. But in general, the Vino Nobile, you know, there's been a dispute for a long time. So this is my personal belief. Very little has been done to preserve the brand of the Vino Nobile in these years. Despite some clear laws by European Union that say that you can put the name of the town on the label only if that wine is produced in that particular town. So you cannot carry the name Montepulciano d'Abruzzo if the wine is it's not made in Montepulciano, because it's misleading. But the political weight of a whole region versus a small town is much heavier, and Abruzzo could keep the name Montepulciano in the label. So there's a dispute. I have a lot of friends in Abruzzo, actually part of my family in Abruzzo as well. So I did these two memes that I posted on Instagram. So this one, it's funny for me at least. So the boss says, all right, folks, which wines are made in Montepulciano with Sangiovese? This guy says, Rosso di Montepulciano. This woman says, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. And this bloke says, Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. As a result, the boss throws the guy out of the window. And this is my face when they talk about Montepulciano d'Abruzzo and my face when they talk about Vino Nobile. Okay, I'm done with the Vino Nobile. Now we go on to the Chianti Classico. I'll try to rush through this. Chianti Classico, the black rooster of Tuscany. See how beautiful the landscape, this landscape is. One of the oldest and most glorious appellations in the world. So the Chianti Classico has 300 years of glory. From the edict of Cosimo III de' Medici in 1716, the Chianti appellation is documented and the quality of the wines is defined. So Cosimo, belonging to the Medici family that have been ruling Florence for over 2 centuries, he created the first disciplinary of a wine in the whole world. So he signed an edict where he said that the zone, the area for the Chianti Classico is the area that is still not considered for the Chianti Classico. And the Chianti Classico had to follow certain rules, a certain criteria to be considered a Chianti Classico. This is pretty mind-blowing because this happened more than 300 years ago. It's an amazing piece of, it's an amazing masterpiece of, food and wine regulations that is pretty unique. So here the characteristics of Chianti Classico: aging is a little bit shorter than the Vino Nobile, much shorter than the Brunello di Montalcino. Remember the Brunello, at least 50 months of aging, Vino Nobile 24 months, while the Chianti Classico at least 11 months. 24 months for the Riserva, 30 months for the Gran Selezione. So nowadays you can find 2019 Chianti Classico and 2018 Riserva of the Chianti Classico, while for the Gran Selezione you have 2017. Altitude has to be in between 250 meters above sea level and 610 meters. The blend here is at least 80% of Sangiovese, 20% of other varieties. So the Chianti blend was defined by Baron Bettino Recasoli in mid-19th century. That was the old school blend because he saw that, Sangiovese by itself was good, but it was better in that particular area if he was blended with Canaiolo, Mammolo, and Colorino, other grapes. They were actually using white grapes as well to give acidity and to give more perfume to the wine as well. So the new school, of course, has a little bit of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, like we saw for the Vino Nobile. We're talking about a much wider area, 6,200 hectares, 17,000 acres, and 580 producers. Now, when you say, I don't like Chianti Classico, it can be a tautology. It can be true because there are so many producers, so many areas, so many different terroirs and different soils that in Chianti Classico, you will find the wine that you love for sure, because it's a wide area and very diversified. The problem is there's probably too many producers. So it's very difficult. Even for me that I work here, it's difficult to find some of the hidden gems sometimes because they have a limited production and they get lost in this huge, almost 600 producers, this huge production. The production is 37 millions of bottles produced per year for a turnaround of 600 millions around annual worth. Between Florence and Siena. So here, since 1716, the Chianti Classico area includes the towns of San Casciano Val di Pesa, Greve and Chianti, one of the most popular ones, Barberino Tavernelle, Poggi Bonzi, and this is the Siena, the Senese side with Radda and Chianti, Castellina, Gaiole, and Castelnuovo Ardenga. This area being pretty close to Montepulciano, sometimes it's difficult to distinguish Chianti Classico, let's say from Castelnuovo Ardenga, than a Vino Nobile, because they're very, very similar. The Black Rooster, a lot of wars and a lot of fights have been fought in Italy. Italy was unified in 1861. Before it was divided in regions. Before it was divided in regions, it was divided into just towns that were forming different states that were often, fighting each other's. And this is not it, because think about the horse race in Siena, the Palio di Siena, the horse race. Siena, even in the historical center, is divided into 13 districts that hate the guts out of each other's, and they fight with the horse race to win the Palio, to win the glory. So Italy, why Italy is so diverse? Because it's always been divided. It's never been a whole country. In the last years, But before, we have a lot of dialects. We have a lot of dialects that derive from the many words that we had in the century. So the beautiful legend of the black rooster, of the symbol of the Chianti Classico. Legend has it that in 13th century, Florence and Siena decided to use a horse race to end their land dispute over Chianti. The meeting point of two knights who had left respectively from Florence and Siena when the rooster sung at dawn would mark the new borders of their territories. The Florentines selected a black rooster and kept it for a few days in a box with no food. So on the day of the race, when they took the rooster out of the box, obviously the rooster was hungry and angry as well, and he sung much earlier than dawn. Thus, the Florentine knight left before the Sienese rider, meeting him only 20 kilometers from Siena walls. Since then, the black rooster has been the symbol of Chianti, especially for the Florentines. So think about, they were supposed to live on the same moment and meet in the middle, and that would define the borders of the Chianti. But since the black rooster in Florence sung much before, much earlier than the one in Siena, because it was hungry and angry, they met just close to Siena, closer to Siena. In fact, Chianti, the Florentine side of Chianti is much wider than the Sienese part. The fiasco. I use this slide for the Super Tuscan as well. You see, the fiasco is the bottle, covered by straw, very typical. This is the symbol of Chianti Classico and probably of Italian wine abroad in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 60s, the Italian wines that would be in the fiasco because Chianti was the most exported and the most produced wine in Italy. So despite being historically associated with the Chianti, the fiasco bottle is nowadays used by only a few producers. Even though the iconic bottle is present in all Tuscan houses, even in my house, but I think I put olive oil in it, I think. It is now sold more as a souvenir rather than a fine wine container. But it's very interesting. The fiasco is obviously a symbol of Italian wine all over the world. So here we have the quality pyramid of Chianti Classico. We have Chianti Classico Annata, which is the current vintage, the Riserva, aged for 24 months, and the Gran Selezione, Great Selection, that was introduced a few years ago, minimum 30 months of aging. It has to be a single vineyard that is widely recognized for its quality. So while the Vino Nobile has a kind of an enemy for its brand in the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, Chianti Classico has an enemy in his little brother, Chianti. So Chianti Classico DOCG and Chianti DOCG are two different wines. So be careful when you say you don't like Chianti, because there's Chianti and there's Chianti Classico, two different wines. Chianti DOCG is a huge appellation that covers many areas of Tuscany, from Pisa to Montepulciano. So while Chianti Classico has more strict regulations and higher quality standards, Chianti DOCG is usually a lighter and cheaper everyday wine. So you have to look for the rooster. The Chianti DOCG is usually lower priced, like the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. You can find it for $7, $8 in the supermarket. Here, the spider chart of the three Sangiovese appellations in Tuscany that I showed for the Brunello di Montalcino. You have the blue one is Brunello di Montalcino, the red one, Vino Nobile, and the green Chianti Classico. Now, I've been very generous with the Brunello di Montalcino because I gave the best rating in terms of structure, average quality, and aging potential and elegance. But also, Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico have nothing to be jealous about, especially in the value area. Brunello price point, average price point is $45, while Vino Nobile and Chianti Classico, the regular Vino Nobile and regular Chianti Classico, the price point is $20 to $25. So, really good value for money. Okay, I'm summing up a little bit. I'm putting Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile on the same level, and Chianti Classico Riserva and Vino Nobile Riserva on the same level. So what will you expect from these two wines? Chianti Classico vintage Annata and Vino Nobile will be limpid red ruby color, while the Riserva will be deep and red ruby color. The younger wine, Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile, will be more floral, tastes like sour cherries, violet, and wild rose, while the other one will be a little bit more complex, will taste like red fruits, currant, dried rose, and chocolate. So the first one will be more vibrant, sharp, dry, fresh, and savory, while the Reserva will be warm, more alcohol, fresh as well, because this beautiful acidity is typical of the Sangiovese, balanced and savory. Therefore, the Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile will be easier drinking, mid to full-bodied, good tannins, while the Reservas will be more complex, full-bodied, and have more round tannins. About food pairing, the Chianti Classico and the Vino Nobile can go with poultry, soups, pasta. Bolognese pasta is perfect, grilled meat, and soft cheese, while the Reserva can go with roasted meat, stews, hard cheese, and game. This is the wine lineup of the day. So Clash of the Titans, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano versus Chianti Classico. The first one will be Montemercurio Vino Nobile Cru Damo 2011, and we will have Irene with us. The second one will be Contucci Vino Nobile Cru Pietrarossa 2015, which actually Contucci Winery is just across the square from where I'm speaking now. Sanguineto Vino Nobile Reserva 2015. Then the first three will be Vino Nobile, and then we'll go with the Chiantis. Monteraponi, Chianti Classico Reserva Campitello 2016, Querciabella, Chianti Classico Reserva 2016, and the last one will be the grand finale, the fireworks, Querciabella, Chianti Classico Reserva 1998. Special guest will be Irene Lesti, Sales and Marketing Manager of Montemercurio, the rising star of Montepulciano. Passionate wine lover, Irene is devoted to Vino Nobile and gin and tonic. She will get angry at me when she reads this. But I love gin and tonic too. So Irene and she usually come to my restaurant for dinner, and afterwards we go get a gin and tonic together. We're really close friends. She's an amazing friend and an amazing, knowledgeable sommelier as well. Now you should see my ugly face. Irene, you there?
Oh, maybe you hear me now?
I can hear you, finally, after the mess that happened 2 weeks ago with the Barolo that I couldn't hear the special guests. I can hear you.
Now also you can see me, maybe.
Yes, I can see you. You look gorgeous.
Well, yeah, after this Christmas celebration, I'm in like a flower.
I gained like 10 pounds in the last just 3 days, probably.
Yes, I lost everything, my liver, my body. After the Christmas celebration, I'm really very, very, very well and good.
It's a food and wine marathon, right?
Yes, and this is not the end. This is the problem.
Yes. Luckily, we are locked down, so we can't go really wild and we cannot meet our friends. Actually, this is the most ridiculous Zoom meeting ever, because we are like 20 meters away from each other. You are like next door.
Yeah, two structure between us.
Yeah,
two palace.
You can actually shout from the window, and you don't need a microphone, because I can hear you. So I did a good introduction, of course.
Like a queen, but I don't know if I'm scared or I'm happy about after your presentation.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to be. You don't have to be scared. I'm not gonna bite you. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, just a second. I have this thing. I don't know how it works. Okay. Irene, you became a sommelier when you were very young, and you, like me, you were born and raised in Montepulciano, and you grew up here. So what does the Vino Nobile represent? What does it mean? What does the Vino Nobile mean to you?
So when I think about Vino Nobile, I think by my roots, my origins, because the knowledge of Vino Nobile, of wine in general, it began from my family, because I'm in love now with a lot of great wines. I know the techniques, the aromas, the smell, the flavors. But when I was a kid, I learned everything from my grandfather, and the wine of my grandfather is not like Montemercurio selection or the Querciabella 1998. Natural wine, I don't know, because I didn't ask anything to my grandfather because I don't know what he put inside. But of course, when I was a kid, I was really very curious about pruning, green pruning, brown pruning, or harvested grapes. And after, my grandfather, of course, didn't add any technologies, press hand, fast aging in the jar or in the concrete or in the cement, in the big barrels from cement, and that's it. And after bottle. And when I remember a lot of dinners and lunches with my family when my grandfather want to present his wine, like a big company, like a winery, and he show us his great wine, the bottles, everything, and his wine for him was the best in the world. If I can share with him, I don't know, maybe I think about a Sassicaia, Dornellaia, or a great Vino Nobile, no chance.
Yeah,
his wine
of course.
was
His
the
wine
better
was the
in the
best.
world. Yes, of course.
Same as my grandfather. I remember we would do we would press the grapes when I was a kid in these like jars
Yeah.
with my feet. Since I was the younger in the family, I was doing that and I was loving it. But the wine, most of the times we would just dress the salad with the wine because it was vinegar most of the times. But that was not Vino Nobile. Then on Sundays, on the most important days of the year, on special occasions, you will have that bottle of Vino Nobile that my father was keeping there in the shelf, and he was bringing this piece. It was like so precious, and it was like gold. Put it on the table, open carefully. This is Vino Nobile for me because and for you, I bet as well. Besides your grandfather's wine.
The same is my blood, because I started learning about wine very early. After a lot of studies, no, because I'm not a great studies. I think more about passion, because I started to approach about wine now it's like 12 years ago. But when I finished my high school, I didn't study wine. I studied other things from literature, philosophy. After I start to be, for my mom, I'm start to be alcoholist. For me, I start to be more more knowledgeable about wine. And now I'm here in Montepulciano, and I'm in the Montemercurio family. This is really very important.
Montemercurio family, a family where I belonged before it came Montemercurio, because Marco, who is the owner, winemaker, and he does pretty much almost everything in the cellar and in the vineyard. Marco, we are the same age, so he was born in 1987, and we grew up together. We were terrible pupils at school, driving the teachers crazy. So I was always going to his house, and he was coming to my house. So Marco's family, I know them very well because I grew up in their house, and I'm so happy to see the success that the winery is having now, thanks to the hard job of Marco, and thanks to you, and thanks to the grandfather of Marco, Mr. Damo,
Yes,
right?
of course.
Can you tell us a little bit of story about Montemercurio?
Of course. For me, was like love at the first sight with Montemercurio, because I find a lot of family, a lot of tradition, because the story of Montemercurio was born around 60s, when the grandfather of the family, Damo, Mr. Damo, Marco's grandfather, started to produce wine, and he planted around 3 hectares. That in acres is around 12. But he produced like for friends and family, because he sold some grape at the big cooperative in Montepulciano.
My grandfather would buy wine from Marco's grandfather.
Because Damo was really famous in Montepulciano for produce a very good wine.
It was the best. It was the best house wine that you could find in Montepulciano, trust me. The best.
And really was incredible, because he produced wine in really an easy way with the grapes that you can find in Montepulciano tradition. and with the typical big Tuscany barrels that we also already have in our company. The Montemercurio story is younger because when unfortunately the grandfather passed away in 2005, the Anselmi family decided to keep everything and evolve, increase the production of the wines and also increase the name of the family. For this, in the 2007, a young Mark Anselmi, at only 19
20 years old.
Yeah, 19, with a lot of passion, with a lot of, I don't know, sometimes I ask to Mark, what do you do? Because I saw him in the cellar with strange instruments. I said, Mark, what do you do? He told me the most of the time, I don't know, because my hand and my heart to tell me to do this, okay? So only for say at all your guys with us tonight that for be a winemaker, you need, I think, 3 important things. Love, passion, craziness, because
Yes.
to be a winemaker, you need to be crazy, and also really love your land, your tradition, and your family stuff. This is really important. And Montemercurio is this tradition.
I lost you for a second. I lost Irene for a second. Now I can hear you.
No, that is really great. Yes.
Okay.
Now
Yeah, because yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you
No.
because I remember Marco when he started. I'm one of his, oldest friends. We grew up together, as I told you. When he started in 2007, he converted what it was a farm because his grandfather, he was not a winemaker, he was a farmer.
No.
He converted a farm into a Vino Nobile winery. And like I said in the presentation, it takes 24 months to release the new vintage of the Vino Nobile. So 2007 was the first vintage.
Yes.
That was released, if I'm not wrong, in 2009 or 2010.
No, it's wrong because the Montemercurio philosophy is a little bit different. Okay, we follow the lineup, the typical rules, the normal rules for the DOCG and the DOC appellation, but Marco decided from the beginning to keep a little bit more the wines in oak, in the barrels, and in the bottle, because we think that for our wines, it's better in this way, because we want a wine more ready for the market and finish and complete. For this first harvest in 2007, but the first Vino Nobile sold was 2011.
It's true. Yeah, you're completely right, because your wines, if you don't count the Rosso di Montepulciano, which is made to be more ready to drink, more enjoyable, even though you age it 1 year more than other wineries. The Vino Nobile and the Damo, when they're young, they tend to be very straightforward. So you need to wait a little bit more. And this is good, especially because, I remember when Marco started. When you start and you're only 23 years old and you made your first wine when you were 20 years old, he was knocking on every door of restaurants, wine stores, distributors, importers. And it was a tough job because sometimes, especially in Italy is a country where if you're young, nobody listens to you. So no one gave Marco credit until people were starting actually to drink the wine without this, prejudice.
Yeah.
And they found out that the wine was good. So I think that Marco has this choice. You have this choice as winery because you want to compete with the best wineries. Marco is a very ambitious guy.
Yeah, it's a very ambitious guy.
In the beginning. So
for this I was in love with the philosophy and the quality of his wine, because I found in the years a lot of love, or I find the taste of the grape and not maybe some correction by the fermentation, the aging part.
Yes.
The best thing of Montemercurio philosophy and Marco style, because it's Marco style in Montemercurio wines, is that okay, he is ambitious, and every year he turn up, or you have new ideas, new technologies inside the cellar.
Experimenting.
But yes, but
Right.
he don't want to lose what he learned many years ago from his grandfather.
Yes,
Respect of
this
the
is a
land,
beautiful,
grapes,
this is a
and
beautiful
quality.
aspect, you know, sorry for the interruption, but
No.
in the previous master classes, I said that younger winemakers,
Mhm.
they, of course, they're following innovations, but they're going back to tradition. I think Marco is the perfect sum up of this statement, because Marco innovates all the time, new machineries. He loves machineries and he plays with them. And
He's a mechanic guy.
yeah, mechanic guy, and he builds things and stuff. I'm a wine drinker, and that's it. But he invents new things all the time. I think this is in the name of tradition, because he goes really back to what he learned from his grandfather, and he tries to improve.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
this is pretty beautiful.
I want to share with you only one secret,
Yes.
because it's things that is really in production from the last harvest 2000, this harvest 2020, because in the years we didn't want to lose the original grapes that the grandfather gave to us many years ago. I talk about maybe the Canaiolo Nero, the Colorino, the Mammolo, and also the white varieties.
Yeah.
So this Marco, few years ago, he started to graft the old vines that the grandfather planted 60 years ago, and have in this way new clones, new vines that we use to plant a new vineyard from 2015 to 2018. And from the last harvest, the clones are ready to stay in Montemercurio family. This is a thing that we are proud to tell to everyone.
It's an incredible heritage that you have left of these old vines, and I think you have to do everything in order to save them. And the beautiful result of these old vines is this guy right here. Montemercurio 2011 Damo. Damo is the name of the grandfather, which is the name of the grandfather of Marco, which is the guy that planted the vines. I'm going to share the screen with some technical information about the wine, even though my computer is pretty slow. There we are. This is the map of Montepulciano. Montepulciano center is right here. Montemercurio is located on the northwest slope facing Pienza and west. You can actually, from my restaurant, you can see the vineyards of Montemercurio.
Of course.
And you always, Irene, you always say that you work. I never saw you working.
No, it's not
so
true.
you claim that you work all the time, but I've never seen you.
But because my office is on a different location. Yeah.
I know. So this is it. So this is the slope of Montemercurio. This is the vinification cellar. You have a view here that is amazing. We have been there with the members of the wine club in February 2020 for the ones that did the wine tasting week on February. And from here, you can see Montepulciano right here and the Church of San Biagio. It's a spectacular view. So this is Marco right here, racking in the fermentation tank. This is Marco, the wife Jenny, Irene, and you have Elia, Roberto, and Daniele. This is the view from your office. So you don't have a bad view from your office, Irene.
It's not great, but it's
Italian women
something that I can look every day.
Okay, so this is the technical information. Montemercurio, Damo, Vino Nobile, DOCG 2011. Grapes are 80% Sangiovese, 20% Canaiolo, Colorino, and Mammolo, like you were saying. Aging is 24 months in 10 hectoliters, so 1,000 liters Slovenian oak in 1,000 liters recipient from Slovenia, plus the aging part in the bottle, obviously. Altitude, we are 450 meters above sea level. The Damo, the single vineyard, is this one on the top that I'm pointing at now, right here. The soil is mostly clay.
Yeah.
Bottles made 4,000. First year of production, like Irene said, 2007. Average age of the vines, 60 years, which is the amazing heritage left by grandfather Damo to Marco and to all of us. Alcohol 14.5. Price, it's going to be 55 euros.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Irene,
So,
I'm gonna go with the tasting now. If I say something wrong, just please interrupt me.
okay, no problem.
Okay, obviously, this is one of my favorite wines. This is a wine that has a special place in my heart because I remember, you know, I was, as I told you, I was always going there with Marco at the winery. So the grandfather used to live there, where now the vinification cellar is. So I used to go there and we used to run through the vineyards with Marco, beautiful memories. So I've had the honor of following the steps of this beautiful wine. Yeah.
Maybe before you go with the tasting, I want maybe say that the vintage that we will taste tonight, the 2011, is the third vintage produced because the first 7, the second 9, and the third the 11. That's it. Because Marco is very several about this wine. If you like the quality of the grapes, he produces. If you don't really he preferred don't produce the wine.
He dedicated the wine to the grandfather. He owes everything to the grandfather. So you cannot produce this on a bad vintage. So you have to make sure that you deliver high quality wine for this beautiful label. Okay. So see with the color, beautiful texture, beautiful color as well. Is a red ruby with beautiful intensity, with some garnet reflections as well. So usually garnet reflections on Sangiovese and wines in general are in older wines that are being aged for a while. But this is something peculiar and typical from old vines. Old vines, they often get this kind of color into the wines, and they often get also in the nose some balsamic notes and some notes that you find usually in wines that are 20, 30 years old. But this one will surprise you because the nose look like a vintage wine, like a wine that has been aged for a while, and then the mouth is still vibrant and kicky. But I don't want to anticipate. So let's see. So the color is red ruby with some garnet reflections. The nose. Beautiful intensity and complexity, very intense and very complex. Extraordinary complexity, I would say. I would dare to use these adjectives. So the notes of a lot of fruits, obviously, dried cherry, prune under spirit, prune under alcohol, dried flowers, beautiful. Then the wine evolves with some earthy notes of scorched earth, forest floor as well. Reminds me of forest floor. Licorice character, which is very intriguing. And again, leathery.
Maybe,
like
some
leather.
tobacco notes, yes.
Yeah. Leather and cigar box, like a beautiful cigar from Cuba. Yeah. Also a balsamic note as well. That is very, very interesting. Beautiful. What hits me is the intensity and the complexity of flavors. Very intense. Amazing.
Also, there is, sorry if I interrupt you, but
no, sure,
my line is really, in the nose also you can feel maybe another note that is typical from our soil. You can feel better maybe after that we taste. It's a note that also we can recognize in our other Vino Nobile, in the Messaggero, because it's a taste of iron. It's like a bloody taste, a dramatic taste, because it's a typical characteristic of the Sangiovese produced in a clay soil.
There's a note of pencil as well, of kind of iron as well, raw meat. The next one that we'll be tasting has got a lot of that. It's more intense, that kind of note. So if people don't feel it now, we'll understand it with the next wine that we'll be tasting, Contucci Pietrarossa. So let's taste this beauty. big structure, muscular Vino Nobile, a big structure, beautifully balanced as well, in which you can feel the heat due to the alcohol, which is obviously in a vintage very warm, like 2011, which was one of the warmest summers ever. You have this kind of alcohol, this kind of heat, this kind of warmth, which is very nice because it's balanced with beautiful acidity as well. So the structure is balanced. Since the acidity is still there, very vibrant, very nice. Also, it's the tannin is kind of dusty, but in a good way, dusty and polished, and a beautiful dry and savory finish. This beautiful minerality of the iron that you were talking about, this aromatic note, is very evident in the minerality, in the savoriness of this wine. So these two aspects, the savoriness and this dusty tannin, reveal the beautiful rustic charm of this masterpiece, of this Vino Nobile. You know, this is, I think, Montemercurio. This is not because you're here with us, and this is not because Marco is one of my best friends.
No, because I'm here, I know.
No, but I think the winery is destined for greatness. I think there's a beautiful, bright future ahead. And this is a beautiful path that you have created. And I think you are improving a lot in the last years. And I think you guys are destined for greatness, because this is an incredible wine. And thanks to Marco, thanks to Damo as well, who planted the vine 6 years ago.
Yes, of course. Thanks to Damo.
Yeah. Good job for all of us.
Now, one of the things that I love in this wine is it's the structure, because this wine, more this vintage, have a specific characteristic. Have a little contrast between the smell and the taste, because in the smell is a full body wine, rich, maybe a little bit alcoholic in the nose. In the mouth is completely different, because there is this big freshness, big sapidity, and the tannins are very soft. Why? Because it's the vintage. I know that the vintage 2011 was warm, a summer really very warm, with a lot of rain in June and July. But before harvest, 2 weeks before harvest, we had a little problem from weather, because the weather was like Caribbean, a tropical climate. For this, usually we arrive at the harvest slowly. In harvest 2011, we arrived very fast. When we started the harvest, the maturation was a little bit in advance, and the sugar content was a little bit higher. And for this, the nose is in this way. Thank God we talk about vines that have the roots 3 meters in the deep of the soil, and this helps to reach. For this, you can find this big acidity and this big freshness in the wine.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I love this. I mean, I'm finishing this.
Yeah. And after, really, when you see 2011 in the bottle, in the label, you imagine other things.
Yeah, you imagine something like a
tasting. If I do a blind tasting,
you imagine like something like jammy, something a little bit sweet.
When a blind tasting, I can say this is 2015, 2015,
yes, it's true.
Not older. Yes.
Okay, I have a small question for you, Irene.
Yeah.
Now, after I'll be introducing the Chianti Classico, our neighbors.
Yeah.
You work for Montemercurio, and you're from Montepulciano. Obviously, for the two of us, Montepulciano will always be the best wine.
The best of the world, yeah.
But you know Chianti Classico, obviously.
Yes. I know Chianti Classico. My opinion, when I think about Chianti Classico, I also search for tradition. For this, I love Chianti Classico because remember me the fresh part of the Sangiovese, the acidity, the freshness, and also, as you said before, and also that Chianti Classico is a huge area, and the wines depend by the soil, because the soil comes from Galestro, that is a crumbly clay, from Arenate, that is a sand, and also depended by the part. Breve, Radda, and the part more Florence is different. When I search for a Chianti Classico, I search freshness, something that I can clean up the mouth, that don't give me very heavy tannins.
Acidity, I think is, but
Something,
like you
yes,
say, I think is the most authentic expression of Sangiovese, the most original one. I think the most authentic, straightforward.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, Chianti Classico, it's not afraid to punch you to the face with the acidity sometimes, but it's always pleasant, always nice drinkability,
Yes.
always extremely enjoyable. And then, of course, there are different areas, of course.
Yes, I want to find really a kind wine, very clean, very polite, correct, with not any strange things. For this, I like Chianti Classico. Yes.
Yeah, I like it too.
When I started to learn about wine, I think the first bottle that I studied was a Chianti Classico.
Yeah.
And remain one of my favorite wine in the world.
Yes.
The wine that I tasted. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to add to the Damo wine. The food pairing is obviously, I think the first thing that comes to my mouth as well is wild boar stew. I think wild boar, game, this kind of very Tuscan preparation, like winter preparations. I think it's a perfect pairing with the Damo. And music wise, since Marco and we were terrible pupils at school, I think the song will be Another Brick in the Wall by the Pink Floyd. We don't need no education, we don't need no tough control. So because Marco and I were terrible pupils driving the teachers crazy, I think it's a perfect wine pairing. Actually of Pink Floyd for this is perfect.
I have my personal advice for the Damo to enjoy the bottle of the Damo. It's okay pair with really a great dish of wild boar, of deer, or something like this. But sometimes really I prefer the Damo. This is my personal opinion, guy. Don't be kind with me. I enjoy Damo after dinner. When I want a glass of wine that I need to relax, I need to
meditation wine.
Open my mind. Really, I looking for a Damo.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it's amazing. If anyone has any question, they can ask to Irene and I. Let's open the chat box.
Yeah.
Anyone online? Let's see who's online.
Don't be shy now.
I'm gonna find you. Oh, there's Alicia Walters. Hi.
Hi.
Becky, Caden, Stephen, and Davidia. Who else is online? Oh, Mark Phillips, Chris, and Annette Bear. No one online?
Ciao.
Okay. No questions.
Did I hear anyone?
Sometimes really Hi, hello.
Okay, let's talk about the weather then. Is it snowing out there?
Yes, no, not tonight. Yesterday night, yes.
Okay, so Caden has a question. What does he do with the grapes when they aren't good enough? What do you do with the grapes when they are not good enough?
Yeah. The Damo is the same blend of our regular Vino Nobile, the Messaggero. For this, when Marco is not sure about quality of Damo, we declassified the grapes and we use for the Vino Nobile basic, the Messaggero.
To enrich the Vino Nobile.
In some vintage, when we didn't produce the Damo, the Vino Nobile Messaggero was like regular Vino Nobile, a Riserva, and a selection is a 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, of course, the wineries, they aim to such a high quality in the vintages in which the grapes are not good enough. Sometimes they just, what they do? They just cut them and leave them on the ground as a manure for the following vintage. This is very sad, but this is what happens sometimes,
Sometimes, yes.
They have to sacrifice a big part of the grape. So Alicia Walters, hi from St. Louis, Missouri, enjoying our first masterclass. Hi.
Hi, hello,
Thank
guys.
you very much for being with us. Stephen and Davidia. Stephen says ciao. Stephen and Davidia met Irene when you were here, they were here with the Perbacco Wine Club group, and we had a beautiful wine tasting at Montemercurio. So,
Very funny.
so obviously, I love the wines because I would be stupid if I picked a wine that I don't like.
So, you know.
Someone is online. Stephen?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Here we go.
So before Stephen and Davidia appear on screen,
Okay.
before they appear on screen, I highly recommend when you come to Montepulciano, when the stupid pandemic will be over, go and visit Irene at Montemercurio because it's an amazing place and they have an amazing wine. So if you want to understand more about the philosophy of production, just go there because I highly recommend going there. Let's see. So Stephen and Davidia, why I can't see you?
Maybe I think that I didn't say that is that Montemercurio is an organic winery.
Yes, it's
This
organic.
is very important for
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Completely organic from the vines to the cellar and in the bottle. No pesticide, no sulfites, no chemical stuff. It's like
Okay,
a supermarket. Yeah.
We have Stephen and Davidia with the beautiful drinking hats of the Perbacco.
Ciao Irene, buon Natale.
Hi, Steven, how are you?
Good, good. Buon Natale.
Buon Natale.
Sì, veramente
Everything
un
is
piacere
fine?
vederti di nuovo.
Anche per me è un piacere molto grande. Ti
Sì,
aspetto in Italia.
Cosa?
Quando è possibile ti aspetto in
Sì,
Italia.
sì, lo vedo allora. Sarebbe un gran sogno adesso per noi, specialmente qui in California. Abbiamo un proprio casino qui, veramente.
Okay, let's switch into English.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, because no,
Okay.
Stephen speaks an amazing Italian.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Irene, this is so beautiful. This wine. There's a cherry chocolate quality to it that
Yeah.
we're both.
You remember this wine?
We
No?
do. We also remember at the tasting there was my wife was talking about it was a Mercurio.
It was a Damo, but I don't remember the vintage that we tasted, but it
2011, I think. Yes.
2011, because it's the vintage of this year. Yes. Next year we will have the new vintage 2012, but for now we still have 11. Yes. Is a wine that for me remember me a lot of things, like from my family, from Marco's family. I really find the taste of a Sangioveses in Montepulciano. This is really very important for us. Yes, and I'm really very happy when people say that enjoy the wine and like the wine. Yes.
When we first went to Osteria del Borgo, the waitress recommended the Mercurio Messaggero.
2008.
The regular Vino Nobile 2008, the second vintage. Yes.
It was fabulous. So if Francesco, if you could get some more of that, that would be wonderful.
Oh, you need to ask Irene and Marco because I think they just we all run out of 2008. I think. I don't know. Someone else is online. So Tommy Selby from Alabama. She got the last bottles of that wine. She's online with us now. No, but we will look into it. We will look into it.
Yeah.
See if we can find it. I'm gonna steal in Marco's house.
I don't know, but we can try to do our best.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from you guys? I think we can go on with the tasting. I'm always late, obviously. I think we can go on to the second wine.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, Stephen. Bye.
Happy New Year,
Bye.
you guys. So Irene, grazie mille. Thank you very much. It was very informative and beautiful to have you with us. Now I'm tasting other two Vino Nobiles that you know really well, Contucci.
I know. A
Contucci
friend, Andrea is
another
a
place
friend.
that is 20 meters from both of us.
That maybe follow us now, Andrea. Ciao, Andrea.
Ciao, Andrea. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mara, Franci, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To host me.
It was a pleasure.
I hope to see you soon because I miss you.
look out of the window. You will see me.
Yes, or if you pass by my house, stop it.
We will share a gin and tonic
Yes,
together.
of
Thank you
course.
very much, Irene. Grazie mille.
Guys, thank you for hosting me.
Happy
Bye,
New Year.
guys.
Ciao.
Enjoy. Happy New Year.
Ciao. Okay, now it's gonna be only this ugly guy and 5 amazing bottles of Sangiovese. We go on to the second wine, Contucci Pietra Rossa 2015, one of the most historical and iconic estates, not just of Montepulciano, but of Tuscany and Italy, I would dare to say. I'm gonna show you the technical details of this wine. This is again the Damo. Here we are. So this is Contucci. Contucci Winery is located 10 meters from where I'm talking, right across the main square of the town of Montepulciano. But the vineyard is located obviously outside on the countryside on a northern slope facing north. One of the most historical estates. You can see this woman is Ginevra, and this is Andrea, they're cousins. They're the Contucci family. Contucci family is a noble family that has very deep roots in the history of Montepulciano, Republic of Florence, and Tuscany in general, a very important family. This building is Palazzo Contucci, Contucci Palace, on the main square of Montepulciano. Underneath this beautiful palace that is 500 years old, you have the wine cellars that are 1,000 years old. So this gentleman right here is the cellar master, Adamo, one of the most popular personalities in Montepulciano. Everyone that comes to Montepulciano goes to Contucci, drinks Contucci, visits the winery, and has a conversation with Adamo. He's been working there for more than 60 years. It's unbelievable the knowledge that this guy has. So Contucci Nobile Pietrarossa 2015, the grapes are Sangiovese 80%, Canaiolo 10%, and Colorino 10%. Aging is 30 months in 10 to 15 hectoliters Slovenian oak. Altitude of the vineyard is 350 meters above sea level. The soil is rich in clay, iron, and schist, mostly iron. Bottles made, 8,000 bottles. The winery is active since, and this is ridiculous, the year 1008. So they've been active for 1,012 years in that cellar. This is pretty unbelievable. I mean, I walk into the cellar, if not every day, every week for sure. And every time I'm just surprised by the history that has been going on in that particular cellar. The average age of vines is 30 years, alcohol percentage 14%, and price is going to be 28 euros. Really good value for money. There we are. So Contucci Pietrarossa 2015. So Pietrarossa means red stone in Italy. It's because the soil, the sand is very rich in iron, so it's got this kind of red color of red stones. Yeah, the color, beautiful red ruby with very luminescent, beautiful light, nice texture as well. See the nose? Nice. It has had a beautiful evolution since I opened the wine up. It was closed in the beginning. Now, after 2 hours of glasses, booming, a beautiful nose, very elegant, beautiful floral, very floral as well. Floral notes of sage, wild rose as well, which is very typical of Sangiovese, and as well violet. Wild violet is very typical of Sangiovese. Then there's a big fruit component, obviously, which is a ripe black cherry, beautiful ripe black cherry, ripe plum as well. Notes of tilled earth, like it's kind of a beautiful earthy component as well, and tobacco note as well. Also leather, like a beautiful leathery aspect, typical of old school Sangiovese. And also I can find a lot of a big note, of aromatic note of blood and raw meat. This might gross you out, but actually it's due to the iron soil. The iron soil iron is what gives smell and the taste of blood and to meat. So it sounds very gross, but I mean, it's a similarity of actually the chemical components of this wine and blood. Actually, it sounds very gross, but that's what it is. So there's a nice touch of raw meat, obviously, like a steak tartare aspect to it. Let's see the palate. Very enjoyable, very pleasant, vibrant acidity, and velvety tannins in the same times. You don't usually have, with a wine that is straightforward and acidic, you don't have these velvety tannins. Beautiful combination, with these notes of blackberry and crushed raspberries that I was feeling in the nose, still in the palate. Beautiful fruitiness in my mouth as long as I speak. So it's got a very bright structure with this, again, beautiful acidity and polished tannins as well. The tannins are very well refined, very well polished, and a surprising minerality. The minerality at the end, that is due to the iron soil. Again, there's this kind of steak tartare taste to it, which is due to this kind of hematic note due to the iron. Overall quality is beautiful. I think this wine is a unique example of perfect synergy between the soil, the terroir, the soil, and the winemaker, because the winemaker managed to respect the quality of that particular cru, that particular single vineyard. They have another cru that is called Mulin Vecchio. Is the vineyard right next to it, but there's no iron on that vineyard, and it's more clay and more sand. Therefore, the wine will be softer than this one, less acidic and more round. So it's a beautiful way to express two different soils that are so close to each other's, made by the same winemaker. So, you know, Contucci family has been making wine for hundreds of years, thousands actually of years. So they figured out how to make wine, which is beautiful. Beautiful example of synergy between the winemaker and the terroir. Amazing wine. I think food-wise, it goes really well with stews, wild boar as well, venison, like typical Tuscan preparation. Probably even like wild boar pasta. I would dare. The first one was more like a wild boar stew. This is more a wild boar pasta with wild boar bolognese. Music, I think something very hard rock, like, you know, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, they have a song that is called Iron Man. I think it's perfect. It's perfect with this wine. So really good job, Contucci. I will congratulate from the window of the restaurant, actually, because they're right next door. Amazing wine. Beautiful personality for sure. We go with the third wine, another Vino Nobile. Let's see who's commenting. Yeah, hard rock. I would say acoustic cover. Yeah, as well, acoustic as well. But I mean, this tension, this beautiful, nice acidity, this vibrant aspect makes the wine a little bit rock and roll, and this savoriness, this minerality as well. Personal opinion. This is not an exact science. Wine pairing is something often very personal. So we go on to the third wine, another wine of my heart, Poderi Sanguineto, Reserva 2015, Poderi Sanguineto. One of the, you know, this is the story of an incredible woman, a farmer. She's not Dora, the owner. She's not a winemaker. If you call her winemaker, she will get angry. She's a farmer. She works the soil. She works really hard. You know, a farmer whose hard work and humbleness have created one of the fortresses of natural wines in Italy, Sanguineto. So natural wine means that nothing is added to the wine, no yeast, nothing else, like no preservatives, because she makes wine in the very old school. But surprisingly, her wines are always correct. So the name Sanguineto, again, a reference to blood, means blood field, because the vineyard was battlefield of a very cruel battle fought by the Etruscans more than 25 centuries ago. And actually, if you go into the vineyard, you take a shovel and you dig a hole, you will find some remains of like soldiers and some remains of the swords and this kind of stuff, like the stuff used by the equipment used by the soldiers for this war. It's pretty unbelievable. I'm gonna share the screen now. So you see a few photos of the winemaker, Dora. First of all, they are located, so this is Montepulciano right here. Sanguineto is located in the northeast side, Poderi Sanguineto. There she is. This is the photo of the winery. This is Dora, and this is Patrizia. They run the winery together. And this is Dora. She's a farmer. So this photo is a very iconic symbol of what Dora is and of what we are tasting right now. The hands of Dora. So with their bare hands, she works the soil and she does an incredible job. So she's a trooper. Dora is unbelievable. I often go to Sanguineto because I admire the wine and I admire Dora and Patrizia. Dora she's the president of the Wild Boar Hunters Association in Tuscany. She wakes up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go wild boar hunting. And then at 7, she goes back home and she starts working the soil tirelessly. She's unbelievable. And you know, these wines are fruits of the work of her bare hands. So this is pretty amazing. You don't have many people that do this nowadays in Tuscany or over the world, I think. So this is the technical information. Sanguineto Nobile Reserva 2015. Grapes are 80% Sangiovese, 10% Canaiolo, 10% Mammolo. Aging is 36 months in 18 to 30 hectoliters Slovenian oak. Altitude is 300 meters above sea level. The soil is rich in clay, iron, and limestone. Bottles made, very limited production, 3,000 bottles only in top vintages, all in top vintages. First year of production of the winery is 1958. Age of the vines is pretty old, almost 60 years old, because the vines were planted in 1963 and 1999 by Dora. 1963 by Dora's father, 1999 by Dora. Alcohol percentage is 14% and price 36 euros. Another great value. Okay, we go the tasting of this beautiful wine. The color, beautiful red ruby with beautiful intensity, more intense in terms of color than the previous two wines. Yeah, let's see the nose. Beautiful nose. Incredible intensity, complexity, and finesse as well. You don't find these three components in the same wine really often. Exceptionally clean for being a natural wine and extremely precise. So most of the wine snobs, they say that natural wines are a wine made by farmers with no added yeast, no added chemicals, are usually inconsistent throughout the years. But I find that Sanguineto is always clean, always very consistent, because I think what makes the difference is, and what gives the continuity is the hard job that Dora is doing in the fields, in the vines. Beautiful nose, beautiful intensity, very nice. So it's an explosion of fruit of maraschino cherries, blackcurrant, soaked in spirit, blackcurrant in spirit, dried fruit as well. There's kind of like a dried apricot aspect to it, which is very intriguing about this wine. Yeah, it's like peach, apricot, like a dried peach, dried apricot. Very interesting. Very nice floral notes as well. Intense notes of raspberry and wild rose due to the old parcel of Canaiolo grape planted by Dora by Dora's father 60 years ago. I think what makes the difference is a small parcel of Canaiolo Nero planted by Dora's father that gives this beautiful intensity in terms of the nose, in terms of smell. So then a slight note of cigar and a beautiful chocolate character, extremely enjoyable. So my standards to define a good wine is when I compulsively put my nose into the glass. This means that I like the smell and I love, and I can't help it by smell it continuously. So this is what I'm doing with this particular wine. Let's see the palate. Beautiful, harmonious, elegant, beautiful elegance to it. There's a rustic charm in the beginning with this big impact, and then a beautiful freshness with notes of ripe black, cherry, prune, raspberry in my mouth, which is pretty amazing. The wine is extremely, very gentle, very intense with this beautiful tannin. The tannin is creamy. You don't have the kind of bitter tannin that has like a very bitter impact in your gums, but it's very creamy. It spreads in the whole mouth. It doesn't focus on the lips. When sometimes when tannins are aggressive, they focus on the lips and in the gums and in the tongue. This spreads all over my mouth and is beautiful, very gentle, very soft. A lascivious wine. This, I think, in my opinion, this would be, and I have another sip while I say that, this would be easily 80% of Brunello di Montalcino in a blind tasting. I'm positive that if I bring, one day I will bring this, I promise, in Montalcino, in a blind tasting, in a Brunello wine tasting, and I'll put this blindfolded, this wine, and I'm sure this will make it to top 5, top 3, I think, because this is an amazing, amazing, amazing wine. Yeah, beautiful smell. I love the smell of this one and the beautiful, pleasant acidity of this wine. Food-wise, I think seasoned cheese and Tuscan cuisine will go really well. Peachy pasta with bolognese and stews as well. Music-wise, I think Dora resembles a lot like Patti Smith. She's a look-alike, I think. And I think, the Patti Smith character is very similar to Dora's personality because she's always kind of fighting. She's a farmer. She's always active. She's always very energetic. She's always fighting for something. And I think there's a nice comparison between Patti Smith and Dora. And I think the song can be because the night belongs to lovers, because the night belongs to us. Cheers to that. Cheers. I'm gonna finish this because I love it. Probably later. I don't want to end up being drunk. We go with the fourth wine. We finished with the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and we are tasting Chianti Classico. Don't call it Chianti, call it Chianti Classico. Beautiful black label, Monteraponi, Campitello, no, Chianti Classico, sorry, Reserva 2016, Il Campitello. This was selected for the wine club. It was on the wine club choices in April 2020. Yeah. So this spring, whose theme was Italian wines versus climate change, because the wine is made in Radda Chianti, which is one of the coldest areas of Tuscany, surrounded by forest, high elevation, and with rocky, difficult to work soils that give enormous satisfaction in terms of wine. So Monteraponi, Il Campitello 2016. I'm going to share the screen so you can see the technical details about the wine. There we are. So this is the map of Chianti Classico. Monteraponi is located right here in Radda Chianti municipality, in the heart of Tuscany. Okay, my computer is extremely slow today. Okay, these are the pictures from Monteraponi. This is the Braganti family, Michele Braganti, Alessandra, that are now running the winery, and Michele's father here, who started the winery a few years ago. You see this beautiful slope. This is Baronugo, one of the most popular vineyards in single vineyards in the whole Chianti area, rich in, you see, Alberese stone and Galestro stone, very difficult to work this soil, surrounded by forest and really high elevations as well. See how beautiful the views are. So Monteraponi is the name of the winery, but it's a small, kind of a rustic, beautiful medieval village that I highly recommend to visit. I think you can also sleep there. Beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful B&B. It's a stunning place. And they make amazing wine, one of the most iconic estates of Chianti for sure. Monteraponi Chianti Classico Reserva, Campitello 2016. Grapes are 90% Sangiovese, 7% Canaiolo, 3% Colorino. Aging is 26 months in big Slovenian or French oak. Altitude is 420 meters above sea level, and the municipality in the Chianti area is Radda Chianti. The soil is Galestro, so rocky soil with schist and clay and a little bit of marl as well. The bottles made are 6,600 bottles. First year of production, 2012. Alcohol percentage is 13.5%. Price is going to be 46 euros. Okay, let's go and taste this beautiful wine. Cheers. Okay, so the color, beautiful color, beautiful red ruby with amazing intensity. Great intensity. Let's see the nose. Nice. Beautiful. No, sorry, the nose. I was doing the palate. Sorry, I'm already drunk with this wine. I have to do the smell before. So the nose is rich and complex. Rich and complex, really. Beautiful texture. Beautiful texture of this wine. Fruit notes of red currants, red berries, violets as well. Violet, very typical of the Sangiovese. A big tobacco, chocolate, and leather character to it, typical of great Sangiovese. But the quality of these components is just of, the finest quality. Is incredible. So beautiful tobacco flavor, beautiful chocolate flavor, and beautiful leather as well aspect to it. So 2016 vintage is pure elegance. One of the most elegant vintages in the last years. One of the best vintages also for Brunello di Montalcino, Vino Nobile, and Chianti Classico. Let's see the palate now. Very nice. Jazzy personality, like jazz music personality, with great intensity and extremely pleasant acidity. This freshness is amazing, with a long-lasting savory finish, with a beautiful minerality. So you see, there's a beautiful linearity to this wine, with this beautiful freshness. This is Chianti at its finest, I think. So with this beautiful savory finish, this beautiful minerality due to the rocky soil, to the rocky components in the soil. So the aroma of red berry, tobacco, and chocolate, and aromatic herbs as well, is never ending in my mouth, in my palate. Beautiful depth, beautiful complexity, that are proof of the most harmonious quality and finesse. I think, as I said before, this is Chianti at its finest. This is the peak of Chianti. This beautiful pomegranate kind of acidity, this beautiful minerality, this beautiful straightforwardness, and this beautiful finesse. We are in one of the most vocated area for Sangiovese, Radda and Chianti. Radda, the municipality of Radda, is the one with highest elevation in Chianti Classico, surrounded by forests. As I told you, is the coldest area in Chianti Classico, one of the coldest in Tuscany. And especially with the last years of, with the climate change, with the last warm summers, the last warm vintages, that area managed to preserve beautiful finesse, beautiful elegance. I think, you know, this is Chianti Classico at its finest. I think the perfect wine pairing is seasoned cheese, and the perfect music is with this jazzy personality, this depth and this complexity, like something like jazz and blues. I would think about Ray Charles. So I Got a Woman, the song by Ray Charles, I think is a good wine pairing with this. So amazing wine, amazing job. Okay, so now before we go to the last two wines, if you don't mind, I would take 2 minutes. 2 minutes for me. I need to go to the toilet. That's it. That's pretty much it. I've been drinking a lot of water before this. I was very nervous. So we take 2 minutes of pause and then we'll start again. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. There was a technical problem that I had to solve really quickly. I hope you can hear me. Now we have the last two wines, two amazing Chianti Classico. Let's see if you guys have any questions. Mary is replying to your questions. Okay, yeah. Oh, Villa Poggiano, beautiful place. Beautiful place. I was reading the chat box. Okay, so we go on to the fifth and sixth wine. Now, I'm very happy. I was looking forward to this moment very much to make a comparison. Mary, can you please give me the other bottle as well of 1998? So the comparison in between the same wine, but different vintage, a few years apart. So we have Querciabella 2016, Chianti Classico Riserva, and here we have Querciabella 1998 Riserva. The same wine that is, you know, 18 years apart. We will see the difference. We will see the evolution that this wine had within these years. And it's very, very interesting to see. Very interesting to see. Okay, let's start with the 2016. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen so you can see. Okay, this is the map. This is the map. Querciabella is located in Greve in Chianti on the Florentine side. So Radda and Chianti, the first one that we've tasted, and Greve and Chianti, these two wines that we've tasted for, that we'll be tasting for the Chianti Classico. Greve and Chianti is one of the most, if not the most important municipality of Chianti Classico. And this is the logo of Querciabella that says, it says it all in the logo, organic since 1988, biodynamic since 2000. Okay. You might find something different about the photos that we've seen with Contucci, old school, and these photos, the small barrels. So Querciabella, they've always belonged to the new school of winemaking in Tuscany because they've always used small barrels. They're actually one of the best wineries for Super Tuscans, not just for Chianti Classico, but for Super Tuscans. They created the first Super Tuscan ever, the white Super Tuscan ever, which is Batar, the first white Super Tuscan, and probably now the only white Super Tuscan ever. They created in 1988 as well, Batar. And they are, pioneers in Super Tuscans and also in the new school of winemaking in Chianti area. But their wines are not appreciated only by so-called new schoolers, also old schoolers like myself. They love these wines because the oak is not overwhelming. The oak is always well integrated into the wines. Here we are. See how beautiful the views are, also surrounded by forest, Greve in Chianti. Technical information about the Chianti Classico Reserva 2016. Grapes are 100% Sangiovese, only Sangiovese. Aging is 16 months in French barrique and tonneau. So barriques are 250 liters recipient. Tonneau is double the size, 500 liters. But French oak. Altitude is in between 400 meters and 500 meters above sea level. The municipality, the town is Greve in Chianti. The winery is organic since 1988 and biodynamic since 2000. The soil is galestro, rocky, schist, and clay, and alberese stone, rocky soil as well. So overall, rocky soil. Bottles made 10,000. The alcohol percentage, 13.5. Price is going to be 46 euros. Here we are. So again, Querciabella 2016 Chianti Classico Reserva. The color, red ruby with intense concentration. This kind of concentration is due to the small barrels. So you can tell when a wine has been aged in small barrels, usually, especially with Sangiovese. Sangiovese is very easy to tell. If the wine is transparent, it means that it's been aged in big barrels, Slovenian oak. If it has this concentration and it's very dark and you cannot see through the glass, it's not transparent, it means, you cannot see my face now, it means that it's aged in small barrels. So this is a trick that you can use with your friends during a blind tasting, actually. Let's see the nose. Beautiful. So definitely a vanilla character to it that was very evident when I poured this wine into the glass 2 hours ago. Now it's kind of vanished. Now it's more fruit forward, more complex. Before there was a vanilla aspect to it, which is another indicator of the use of small barrel. But the oak is not overwhelming. Like I was saying for the Super Tuscan Masterclass, sometimes in the early Super Tuscans, like in the early Amarone, in the early Napa Valley, sometimes the oak was too much, too overwhelming, that sometimes you wouldn't understand if you were tasting a wine or an IKEA product, because you would taste just wood, just oak. But now, within the developments of the taste of the new schoolers, the wines are evolving. Even new school wines, they don't have this overwhelming oak, but they preserve the quality of the grapes. They preserve the quality of the wine. So there's a touch of vanilla character to it, which is a sign of the small barrels, but still well integrated, beautifully integrated with the structure of the wine. It's not too sweet. So, big intensity of the aroma, a very wide bouquet, beautiful intensity. There's a lot of fruits, of course, it's very fruit forward. Plum, like a ripe plum, sour cherry. Also a note of cherry soaked in spirit, this like little like chocolate with cherry and spirit inside. There's a smell like that one. We call it, in Italian, we have Moncherie kind of chocolate. Also maraschino cherry as well. Beautiful. A note of wild rose as well. Yeah, it's very elegant and precise, very neat, very elegant and very precise. There's a herbal note of Mediterranean scrub as well. Typical tobacco aspect, and a note of another note of tilt earth, this kind of earthiness, which is beautiful and also elegant. There's a big chocolate component to it, chocolate character to it, big chocolate component, but an impressive overall quality of the wine. Beautiful quality of this wine. Beautiful nose. The oak is beautifully integrated, like I was saying before. Let's see the palate though. Very intense, very powerful, very muscular, with a grippy tannin at the end. This is the grippiest tannin that we've experienced so far. The tannin is there, it's kicky. I can feel it in my lips, in my gums as well, in my tongue. Now that I speak, it's drying my mouth now that I speak this grippy tannin. But the fruit is overwhelming, not just in the nose, but in the palate as well, because there's a lot of maraschino, cherry, and notes of blackcurrant in my mouth now that I speak. So I'm speaking, so I'm ejecting a lot of air from my mouth, and I still have this fruitiness, this beautiful fruit, and this beautiful personality of this amazing wine in my mouth. This is a beautiful sign of overall amazing quality. Yeah, the wine is warm and extremely refined. This can go for decades because this beautiful acidity and this tannin, they can go for a very long time, because when you have tannins, that kind of bitterness and this acidity, it means that the structure of the wine can be preserved for many years ahead. So this can be aged for decades. And actually, we have the living proof in the 1998, the same wine aged for 22 years, and now it's now in beautiful shape. So, you know, this is a new school wine with all this fruit and all this tobacco-ish and all this beautiful vanilla character, but in the same time has got this beautiful rustic charm typical of the Chianti Classico. I think this is a beautiful combination. We are talking about the peak of the new school, probably in Chianti Classico. Querciabella is one of the top wineries. And this is an amazing wine that I like very much. So food-wise, I would go with noble poultry, like guinea fowl, duck, and roasted meat as well. So you need something succulent that makes you, the succulence of roasted meat makes you salivate a lot, and then the alcohol and the tannin of this wine are into your mouth to dry all the succulence up. So this balances the wine pairing. So when you have something like a steak that makes you salivate a lot because it's very succulent, you need something with a beautiful tannin, because the tannins, they dry your mouth up. So for the ones that don't know, the tannin sensation is that kind of bitterness in your tongue, in the tip top of your tongue, in your gums, and in your lips, and inside of your lips, that is very bitter and is drying all the fluids that you have in your mouth. These are tannins from a tasting perspective, because from a chemical perspective, they are polyphenols, but this is another story. Yeah, beautiful wine. I think we can go very deep, very introspective. We can go with the blues music. I think B.B. King would go perfectly with this wine, very deep, very complex, and very like this beautiful earthiness. I think B.B. King, like bluesman, something very beautiful music, can go really well with this one. Another sip of this one, and then we go on to the last wine. Very nice. Now this guy, you cannot see really well. There's a lot of light in here. Querciabella, 1998, Chianti Classico Reserva. So it's going to be the same wine that we've tasted before, but 22 years older, 18 years older. So 22 years old in overall aging. I'm using a different glass with a wider shape, simply because I don't often use decanters. And of course, I've opened the bottle with the carabin. Therefore, I've poured this into a wider glass in order to get more oxygenation and to get the wine more ready to drink. Let's see the technical components of this wine. Of course, will be very similar to the previous one because it's the same wine. Grapes, again, 100% Sangiovese, aging for 16 months in French Barrique and Tonneau, altitude 400 meters, 500 meters above sea level, municipality of Greve in Chianti. The winery has been organic since year 1988, one of the pioneers of organic production and biodynamic production. The soil is Galestro, again, typical of Chianti and Montepulciano, rocky, schist, clay, and marl, and Alberese, rock. Bottles made are 10,000, alcohol percentage 13.5, and the price is going to be 99 euros. It was very difficult to find enough bottles of this one. I found 60 bottles, and we have 18 people tasting the wine with us now, so we still have 40 bottles left. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to taste a wine that is fully developed. But still, I think the wine, it's on its peak, but it's not past peak. This wine can go for another few years, if not decades, because the wine is still vibrant. It's still very alive. Okay, let's try this. Beautiful. So the wine, I'm describing a wine that has been opened more than 2 hours, 2.5 hours ago in this big shaped balloon glass. The wine changes a lot according on how long before you've opened it. So if you open the wine just now, you will have a different wine from what I'm tasting. If you will taste this wine tomorrow, if you open it tonight and you will open tomorrow morning, you will have, and you will drink it tomorrow morning, you will have a completely different result, probably more fully developed. But you know, this wine is kaleidoscopic. It changes with the time because it's got a beautiful evolution in the glass. But now, so as I told you, I've opened this 2.5 hours ago and poured it in this big glass. So I had enough time to decant. So see the color. The color is a red ruby, but more of a garnet personality. It's definitely garnet. Typical color of aged Sangiovese. So the name of Brunello di Montalcino is called Brunello because the color is brownish, and this color is kind of brownish if you look towards the light. So typical color of an evolved Sangiovese. It is a huge emotion to be able to find such a hidden gem and to be able to share it with you guys. I'm overwhelmed with joy because good wines are meant to be shared with friends. So I'm sharing this with you now. Thanks to technology, we are 5,000 miles apart and we still share this beautiful wine together at the same time. So technology is beautiful in this particular. It can be a pain in the ass sometimes. It is beautiful in this particular aspect because it's allowing us to do something that was unthinkable 50 years ago, even probably 15 years ago, actually, if you think about it. So it is beautiful to share this wine with you all. Let's see the nose of this one. Perfect complexity. This wine is complex. There's a lot of flavors in this wine. But still, sometimes in older wines, you don't smell fruit. I can smell fruit on this one. And it's beautiful. So very intense as well. Emotional quality, harmonious bouquet, notes of cherry on the spirit, dried rose. There's a touch of orange peel as well. It was more evident at the beginning. Now it's fading a little bit, this orange peel. I don't know if you know the spirit Cointreau, the orange peel spirit. I think there's a touch of it in this one that makes the wine very intriguing. There's a lot of cigar as well, like tobacco, like a cigar box to it, and chocolate of finest quality. It's kind of a earthy note of mushroom as well. a smoky aspect as well of like a pencil case. Like when you open a pencil case, it makes sense because pencil is resembled to a kind of minerality, which is very typical of the soils of Chianti Classico. So pencil case is something that I find in this. A lot of you might think that I'm foolish, that I'm crazy, but pencil, I smell pencil case in this one. And a beautiful balsamic aspect, very balsamic of menthol and eucalyptus as well, typical of aged Sangiovese. Leather is a strong component. It reminds me, we use leather a lot in Tuscany. All the women here have a leather purse. I have a leather purse myself where I bring my laptop as well. So this smells like one of my mother's older leather purses, which is a smell that I love. And in the structure of the wine is beautifully integrated, extraordinary complexity. And I think the wine, it's at its perfect peak in terms of smells, because of older wines, sometimes you don't smell fruit. When you don't smell fruit in a wine anymore, it means that the wine is fading. If you don't smell fruits and flowers in a wine, it means that the wine is almost faded, probably. This wine is fruity, floral. There's a beautiful potpourri like dried wildflowers, and it's still alive in the nose. So this makes me think that this wine can go for another few years. Let's see the taste of this wine. Let's see the palate of this. Majestic, incredible, incredible. The structure is just perfect with this surprising acidity that you don't expect, you don't see it coming from a 22 years old wine. This extraordinary acidity, freshness. The tannin is creamy, but still has a good grip. The tannin is still punching. I still feel the tannin here in my gums, in my lips and in my gums. I feel the tannins. This means that the wine is still punching. The wine is still alive. The wine is still kicking. The wine can go for another, I would dare to say, 20 years, easily, which is very interesting because a lot of old schoolers like myself, but the most snob ones, they say the new school Sangiovese, it doesn't age. Well, this wine proves, forgive the language, that this is bullshit because this can go for another 20 years. This wine will be 50 years old, will be different from what it is now that is 22 years old. Now that is on the fruits, on the leather, on the tobacco side, probably will be on the smoky, within 50 years from now, will be on the smoky side, will be on the old leather side, old wet tobacco side of it, but still alive. This can go for easily 20 years. I dare to say that 20 years, we'll have a virtual tasting. I don't know 20 years from now where technology will be. Probably I will create an hologram of myself and I will go into the United States while being here at the same time, and we'll taste the 1998 Querciabella Chianti Classico in year 2045, whatever, and the one will be still alive. I bet €1,000 on it. Forgive my enthusiasm, but I'm enthusiastic. I'm happy to share this with you guys, and I'm happy to see how Sangiovese can age, how Sangiovese can go for such a long time, and the overall quality of this incredible grape. So the complexity that I felt on the nose as well is present into my mouth too. Because I can feel this complexity, this beautiful fruit, this beautiful tobacco aspect into my mouth as well. So this orange peel as well. And there's a very nice minerality too. And the touch of raw meat that Irene was talking about is present here as well. There's a little bit of a steak tartare aspect to it. that is very, very intriguing, very interesting. And this is because is one part of the vineyard is present a lot of iron stone as well. Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about this. I would say that wine pairing wise, I would go with something very complex, very important preparation, such as truffle meat preparation, like a guineafol or duck stuffed with some black truffles, out there to say. Parmigiano, aged for 30 months, 36 months aged Parmesan with balsamic on top, like we saw with the Amarone Masterclass as well. But I think the best way to enjoy this wine, the best pairing is in front of the fireplace with the person you love, with your partner, with the person you love, with the people you love, with your family. I think this is the perfect pairing of this wine. Like Irene was saying for the first wine that we've tasted, Montemercurio, it's a perfect wine, perfect meditation wine. I think this is a perfect meditation wine as well. If you have a bad day at work and you've been arguing with your boss or with your colleagues and you're very pissed off, you go back home and you have, you open this bottle of wine, you taste it after 3-4 hours. I think this will change your day. If your day is being ruined, this will definitely change I would dare to say this is going to change my week because I'm going to taste it. I'm going to open it tomorrow and have it for dinner. This is going to change my week, probably. Beautiful, beautiful wine. Cheers to this. Okay. So now we go and see. I'm going to share the screen. And we see the prices, the price list. There you go. Perbacco price list, free shipping to the USA. You guys, members of the wine club, know already that we do free shipping. The first one we've tasted, Montemercurio Vino Nobile Cru Damo 2011. The price is 55 euros. Contucci Cru Pietrarossa 2015, 28 euros. Sanguineto Vino Nobile Reserva 2015, 36 euros. Monteraponi Chianti Classico Reserva Campitello 2016, 46 euros. Now, we only have 6 bottles of this wine. I think the next vintage is 2017. So if you hurry up, you can order 2016. Otherwise, you will get 2017. Querciabella Chianti Classico Reserva 2016, 46 euros. Querciabella Chianti Classico Reserva 1998, 99 euros. So the deals, the 12 bottles combined, so 2 bottles for each wine, are 585 euros with a little bit of discount, obviously. 12 bottles of your choice minus 5% discount, 24 bottles of your choice minus 10% discount, 36 bottles or more. I will reply to all holidays greetings received by the people you don't like. I know this is a very sensitive topic. We're receiving a lot of messages from people we don't like, and I'm willing, if you buy 36 bottles, to reply all of them with enthusiasm. All jokes aside. Well, thank you very much. I should have a paper. Steven wants to order the 12 bottles. Oh, there you go. This is my paper. The website where now the series of masterclasses is finished. It's been a beautiful ride. Obviously, I want to thank you all for participating. It was awesome. This is something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing this kind of masterclasses. I prefer to do it in person, live. I prefer to travel to the United States. I prefer to travel to London. I prefer to do it here in Montepulciano. I prefer to go to Montalcino and do a wine tasting into Montalcino. I prefer to go to Chianti, do wine tasting there. Obviously, because of COVID, virtual tasting, it's all that we have left. And I feel beautiful doing this. I love doing this. I don't like being on screen, but I like doing this. I like being in touch with you guys. And I want to thank you guys personally, because you gave me something that in this year with the pandemic, not many people have had the honor and the luck to have. You gave me purpose. So the restaurant has been, our restaurant has been closed since November 1st up until, I don't know when, probably up until Easter time. So we'll be closed for 4-5 months. I'm not used to it. I don't know what to do. This master classes, the wine club is giving me something that I really need. I need purpose. I need something to do. I need, I need to be in touch with you guys. I need to be in touch with you all. I need to do something. I need to be active. So thank you very much for giving me this amazing opportunity of these master classes. It's been a success. It's been amazing. Of course, we've had the problem with the restriction. You couldn't gather many people in your houses. And a lot of people will watch the recorded version of these tastings within the next weeks or within the next month, once the restrictions will be less strict. But I want to thank you very much. And I promise I will do my best to do this on a regular basis. I'm planning to do beautiful events in March and April, probably May, June, whatever. We'll see. We'll go with the flow. It's difficult to plan things with this pandemic, but I'm sure that with the vaccine and science and improvements done by science and by our doctors, we'll be out of this bad moment really soon. In 2021, I will meet you in person again, but we'll do a lot of wine tastings like this. So if you want to keep posted, www.perbaccomontepulciano.com/masterclasses. I will post the new masterclasses and the new virtual tastings that we'll do probably with single wineries from February and March and April. My email is perbaccomontepulciano@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. I'm very active. Perbacco Wine Club on Instagram. Perbacco Wine Club on Facebook. Hello to the people that are watching us on Facebook. Hello, followers. Hello, Chinese government. Hello, Russian government. You will find the recorded version of this wine tasting in Osteria del Borgo channel on YouTube. And this is pretty much it. I wish you the happiest 2021. I hope you had a good Christmas. I love you very much. Thank you very much. Let's see who wrote. Stephen wants to order the 12 bottles. There you go. This is the music we like to hear. Christopher says, Happy New Year to you too, to you and Annette as well. Going to save the rest of the 1998 to accompany our New Year's Eve feast. Thank you, Francesco and Mary, and best wishes for 2021. 2020 be damned. You're right. Mark Phillips, grazie mille, Francesco. Wonderful to taste all of this gorgeous wine. Thank you very much. Kaiden Hackett, thank you, Francesco. Steve and I loved the 2 classes. We participated with you. Thank you very much by heart. Can't wait to do it in person at some point. But this has been great. Happy New Year, Heather and Steve Evans. So thank you very much, Heather and Steve. I love you guys very much. I love you all. Alicia, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alicia, Walter. Thank you very much, Stephen and Davidia, for always intervening in our master classes. Chris and Annette there, thank you very much. Thank you to all the people that will watch this in the next weeks. Thank for Chris Delane. Thank you very much. Becky, thank you very much. We loved it. This is our first. Thank you, Becky. This is the first of many, many virtual tastings, and I hope to meet you in person. Thank you very much to Hagai, Yali, and Scott in Detroit that will watch this recorded version of this tasting few weeks and few months from now. Thank you very much again, guys. This has been a beautiful ride of this series of master classes. I will always be there for you. If you have any questions, just feel free to write me an email. Thank you with all my heart, and my best wishes for an amazing 2021. Becky, we met last year at your restaurant. I remember very well. Mary is saying hello. So she's wishing you an amazing 2021 too. She's shy. She doesn't like that I show her with the camera, but she's amazing. Thank you to Mary. Big kiss goes to you, obviously, my love. She's been helping. She's been directing everything out of the screen. She's been directing everything via Zoom. And thank you very much again. Thank you to my family. Also, my family is wishing, a Merry Christmas, late Merry Christmas. and an amazing 2021. And we all hope that you will be here in Montepulciano soon. Mary and I are looking forward to go back to the United States again very soon. I'm looking forward to get my vaccine, my shot soon, and to be able to travel again and to finish this shit show, which has been awful. And our best wishes for an amazing new year. And thank you again very much. Bye-bye.